Good evening. My name is Vince Noble, President of Speedway Town Council. It's 7 o'clock, and I want to call the meeting of the Speedway Town Council to session. First off, roll call. On my far middle right, Eileen Fisher.
Good evening.
Next to Eileen is David Lindsay.
Good evening.
My far left, our attorney, Bob Clutter.
Howdy do.
And next to him is Jacob Bladesdale, our town clerk treasurer.
Good evening.
Next to Jacob is Gary Pettigo.
Good evening.
And the vice president of the town council, Gary
Rakes.
Rakes.
Yeah, good evening. All those Garys.
Yeah, Gary. First on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand in. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Next is approval of minutes of the June 14th, 2021 meeting. These minutes have been previously distributed. If there's no changes or corrections, they will be approved as submitted. Hearing none, those minutes have been approved. Next on the agenda is proclamation honoring Sergeant Mark Morgan for a lifetime of service to the town of Speedway and the Speedway Police Department. And David Lindsay, would you have the honor of reading that?
Yeah, before I read it, Mark retired from the police department effective July 1st. And Chief, when I'm complete, if you can come up and kind of say a few words here, but I'll read the proclamation. Be it hereby known and proclaimed, whereas Sergeant Mark Morgan served the town of Speedway for 40 years after beginning his career with the Speedway Police Department on July 1st, 1981. And whereas Mark was promoted to the rank of sergeant in 1990, and whereas Mark served in the detective division after his promotion and later returned to the operations division as a shift supervisor, and whereas Mark was a member of SWAT, the DUI task force, FACT, squad leader, and served as a field training officer. Mark also served as a member of the Honor Guard during his career, and Mark attended multiple schools over the years, such as high-risk building entries, drug and narcotics investigations, SWAT school, and many others. And whereas the citizens of the town of Speedway and the Speedway Town Council wish to express their sincere gratitude and appreciation for Mark's 40 years of service to the Speedway Police Department and the town of Speedway, and a lifetime of commitment to our community, the state of Indiana, and the United States of America. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Speedway Town Council does hereby proclaim this day, Monday, July 12th, 2021, as Mark Morgan Day in the town of Speedway, and encourages residents of Speedway to celebrate his dedication and hard work in our town as he begins retirement. Mark, due to his health, could not attend tonight. I'm hoping for a unanimous vote on this because I represented Mark his proclamation today. His wife, Candy, I spoke to her last night. She just told Mark I used to work with, and his wife told him I was coming down, did not tell him why. So Mark was very surprised, and he should be watching. I sent him the link to watch tonight's meeting, so he is watching. His health prevented him from being here, but 40 years service to the town is an outstanding accomplishment. Mark was very, very dedicated to the job and to this town, and I think it would be appropriate that I make a motion and we approve this.
Absolutely.
I'll second your motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Signify by saying aye.
Sorry. Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
And Chief, if you could say a few words, I know you helped me with it too.
On behalf of Mark, I want to say thank you. I know he appreciates this, and we appreciate the fact that Dave actually drove down to make sure that he heard that for the first time. you didn't tell the whole truth. He was your supervisor.
He was, yes.
Oh, man.
So, you know, I guess we can blame Bob.
So he's got dirt on it.
Yeah, probably does.
And you can't say it much better. 40 years, you know, I mean, the guy's dedicated his life to this town. I think you can see from some of the pictures, Mark enjoyed his job, took pride in his job, and loved this town. And, you know, again, I thank Dave for physically going down there. We went down last Friday and paid him a visit. You know, we wish him the best is about all you can say. So, again, thank the council for providing him with Mark Morgan Day.
I just think it's, you know, it was just fabulous that for his having an officer with that kind of dedication to the town of Speedway for that long. I mean, can you imagine, he touched probably everybody within the town more than once. And I think that you don't get that longevity anymore, besides you, Chief, you know.
I got him beat, but we won't talk about it.
Oh, yeah, we won't go into that tonight, but I think it's indicative of his character and what he values in life, and I think that it's the least that we could do is to make
Well,
it.
it says a lot about him, but it also says a lot about the town of Speedway. That a guy is willing to do that many years. And a department that, you know, has that kind of pride in its police department. So, speaks highly of both.
Yeah, any other comments?
I've had numerous interactions with Mark. Fortunately, none where he pulled me over when I was a younger man, or
Mostly social.
a few in the line of duty kind of things. Just as all of us, I'm sure, on the council have come across him, and he's a really nice guy. On top of 40 years of service, I mean, nobody stays 40 years anywhere. So congratulations to him, and thanks to his family for allowing that as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda is the presentation of the Speedway Library in-home service. Aaron Gaberson. Thank you for coming tonight.
Well, hello,
Hello.
town council members and the public. Thank you for allowing me to speak with you tonight. I am Erin Gabrielson. I'm the new outreach librarian at Speedway Public Library, and I'm very pleased to be representing the library here tonight. I'm here to tell you a little bit about the outreach services I'm providing, this new in-home service in particular, and also just to introduce myself. I started just this past April at Speedway Public Library after around 13 years in academic libraries, so a little bit of a change for me. And I found my time so far in Speedway and performing outreach, I found Speedway to be a very welcoming, friendly, and warm community. So some of you might be wondering what an outreach librarian does. What does that mean? Well, in addition to normal librarian duties like maintaining a collection our community wants to use, helping patrons search for, find, and use information that they want or need, and all the typical other duties as assigned, kind of like talking to you tonight, I am generally tasked with communicating and collaborating with the Speedway community at large. Part of that is ensuring accessibility to our library by all patrons. As an outreach librarian, I'm concerned with certain specific questions. Questions like, how do we find the Speedway residents who cannot physically get themselves into our building? How do we know who is not using the library and why are they not using the library, and how can we get them to use the library? How do we effectively reach out to Speedway residents, and what partnerships would benefit the community most? And finally, what library and information needs are we not even aware of yet in our community? So some of these are variations on the classic conundrum of just how do you know what you don't know? Specifically, as the outreach librarian, I was tasked with developing and implementing our brand new program, which is called Unbound Library, In-Home Library Service. Many public libraries have offered homebound services for decades. As the town of Speedway matures, along with many of its residents, this program is sure to fill a vital need. Librarians in general are concerned with providing equal access to information and recreational media in many forms. So bringing the library to patrons who are unable to visit on their own is truly integral to making the library accessible to all. Through our new in-home service, I'm able to bring the Speedway Public Library to patrons who, because of a disability, mobility impairment, or even a long-term convalescence, are unable to independently come into the building. I named this service myself, I named it Unbound Library, because I'm not just bringing books to patrons. I'm bringing the entire library experience as best as I can replicate it. I and another staff member or volunteer, I never go into someone's home alone. We bring our in-home patrons library materials, yes, books, DVDs, but I also want to engage them in social interaction and provide in-home library programming. For seniors and patrons with disabilities, the library may be their only source of socializing. We see this all the time with people who are able to come into our building. Medical studies have shown how vitally important socialization is for mental and physical health, and I think we all learned a little bit about that during the pandemic, isolating ourselves.
You should see it flashing.
Many traditional library programs can be adapted to in-home service also, and I plan on expanding on those opportunities as I get more patrons registered for this service. For example, beyond offering craft, what we call take and makes, like we have been to all our patrons during the pandemic, with enough interest, I will offer a book club, especially for these in-home patrons. So far, I've reached out to 10 different organizations and entities, either in Speedway or which serve Speedway residents, such as area churches, health centers, and the American Legion, to share information about this new program and to share brochures and flyers, and I've left some brochures on the table in the back. It looks like this. I've already had some interest from patrons who are considering the idea that maybe it would be safer and easier in their lives for them to have this in-home service instead of trying to get a ride, having someone assist them with their mobility to get into the building, or having a caregiver having to pick up items for them. As I researched how to structure this new service in the context of outreach in general, I realized that part of the answer to the challenging questions I mentioned earlier is actually quite simple. How do we find out the patrons who cannot come into the library themselves? How do we know what library needs we're not even aware of yet in our community? We listen. I talk to patrons we do have coming through our doors. I talk to other organizations. I network. I go out into the community and I listen. Thank you for your time again. And what questions do you have about this new service or about my role as outreach librarian?
How many individuals are you servicing right now that you've
Very
already contacted?
Very good question. I like to think of this as a slow rolling ball. So I have one person who is very interested to receive this service. Again, I purposefully chose the name of the service because many people who are unable to come into the library don't consider themselves necessarily homebound. They may go out to doctor's visits, so they think that means that they're not eligible. So I have one person who's open to the idea, another person who seemed also very open to the idea, but maybe just needs a little bit of time to think about it, and I have a list of several others I'll be reaching out to soon who might benefit from the service.
I think that our communications director would be, a perfect resource for you to, look at as extending your arms out to the citizens
Wonderful.
of Town of Speedway.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, I just want to make a comment. I think it's great. I know I have family and friends of family that are, whether they're homebound or whether they're out and just not able to really physically get around the library. This is a great service for them, so thank you.
Thank you. And I want to close just by saying that if people are interested, they can simply call the library. I wanted to make as few barriers to registering for the service as possible. So they can simply call the library and ask for Erin.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next, I'd like to bring up the Arts Council at this point in time, just to, the last time that you were here, the artist was unavailable, and so that we could meet him.
Good evening, counselors. Thank you for getting us in on the agenda so quickly. I wanted to introduce Matt Roseborough. He's the artist that we have in the lower level of the Municipal Center.
First off, I just want to thank you guys for having me here tonight. The Arts Council has been very helpful with, helping me get involved in the community. I had a lot of sales at the pop-up show, which was one of my first shows, which was really, really successful during the 500 week. So I want to thank you guys for that. As an artist, I kind of focus on mental health and expressionism in my art. Also working with other artists that have either physical disabilities. So yeah, it's been really an honor to be able to show my work here and kind of get connected with you guys. So I appreciate it.
Okay, is there any questions for Matt? And so at the Arts Council, you'll be promoting your work through what period of time?
So we're going to have Matt's work up through the rest of July, maybe a couple weeks into August. I'm looking for some places on Main Street to also showcase his artwork. We do have him on our website, speedwayarts.org, and you can get to him through the artist page, and he's one of our featured artists on there.
Fantastic. Any other questions?
Nice to meet you, Matt.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I'll move on to recognition of service. Tim Ramion. Tim, can you step forward? Gary?
So, yeah, thank you, Vince. I am really honored to be the counselor to present this evening. It's on behalf of the whole council, of course. But just having known you for 20 years, I'm going to read a proclamation that we have here. What's interesting is your replacement did this proclamation, and he clearly doesn't have the same need for larger type that I have, or that you might have.
I second that.
So I'll ask our attorney to hold that for me over there and try to read this, just giving Eder a hard time. So Tim, again, I'll read this, make a couple comments, and certainly give the rest of the council and anyone else that wants to razz you an opportunity to do that. So, whereas Timothy James Ramion moved to Speedway in June of 1985 with his wife and best friend Bonnie, the day before their son Alex turned 1 year old, and 2 years before the birth of their second son Anthony. And whereas Tim was raised next to the South Shore commuter rail in Michigan City and Bonnie was raised next to a commercial railroad track, it's no big deal and barely a consideration for them to have purchased a home on Nestor Drive, just 50 feet away from what was then an active B&O railroad.
Right.
And whereas Tim and Bonnie met during their involvement in student leadership at St. Francis of Assisi, did I say that right? Assisi, thank you. University Parish on the campus of Ball State University. It was only natural for Tim to become, or Bonnie to become involved in St. Christopher's Parish here in Speedway, and Tim a member of the parish council. And whereas being proud that his father was active in civic and city leadership in Michigan City, Tim stepped forward to serve in officer positions over 2 decades on numerous Speedway boards, commissions, and civic groups such as the Trails, the OSCNA, the Transportation Board, the Parks and Recreation Board, and currently Lions Club, resulting in tremendous progress throughout our town and in all the areas. And whereas after a successful career at AT&T, Tim joined and worked tirelessly for many years for the Speedway Redevelopment Commission, the town administration offices, and Board of Zoning Appeals to help move the community forward, all while looking out for the best interests of citizens and businesses in Speedway. And whereas the citizens of the town of Speedway and the Speedway Town Council wish to express their sincere gratitude and appreciation for all the years of service to the town of Speedway, Indiana, and his continued commitment to our community, the state of Indiana, the United States of America. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Speedway Town Council does hereby proclaim that Friday, July 16th, 2021 will be Tim RAMION Day in Speedway, and we encourage residents of Speedway to celebrate his dedication and hard work in our town as he begins retirement. This is adopted this day, and I would first make a motion that we approve this, the same as we did one earlier.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So,
All those opposed? 0.
so that was unanimous. I know Tim probably thought that was questionable, but no.
4-1.
I've known Tim for 20-plus years. We volunteered at the same time on the Parks Board together, and at the beginning of some important years of planning for the transformation of our parks that Tim ultimately saw through to completion. And he later joined the town as an executive assistant and has served in other capacities. It's funny, we typically recognize employees who have been with the town for several decades. Tonight was a great example of a very deserved person in Mark Morgan, 40 years, and you haven't even gotten quite to a decade yet. But what's interesting is it feels like you've been here a lot longer, and that's a positive thing, not a negative thing, by the way.
Thank you.
Just because your handprints and your footprints are all over our town, and I know you're going to continue to serve in other parts of town, but we really appreciate you. The public may see you as a quiet guy, gentle, serious a lot of the time. The rest of us know better. You put it on a pretty good front there, Tim, but we see you as intelligent, highly intelligent, really well-spoken, because you're so well-prepared. And I just see you as humorous all the time, and you're constantly cracking jokes or being the butt of jokes and totally okay with it because you can dish it out and you can take it. And I love having the opportunity to read this and be part of voting on this tonight. You're a good friend.
Well, thank you. Boy, I haven't had this much attention since high school graduation. About 6:15, my wife told me I better get out of my pajamas and get dressed, so I have started. I've worked with each of you in different capacities. Eileen and David, Vincent, Gary as a council president, I've worked with you in that capacity, and Gary Pedigo, you and I worked at the polls on election day for many years in a row at the junior high school, and Jacob, what can I say, in 2 different capacities as town manager and clerk treasurer. It's been, and then Bob on legal advice with the zoning board. I really appreciate that, and other things. You've all been it's been an honor to work with every one of you and other people in the town, even Tim Gropp. But well, especially Tim Gropp. But thank you very much. I'm speechless. I thought people might be falling asleep after hearing all of that, but I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Recognize your family.
And I do, thank you. I didn't do that last time. I want to acknowledge my wife Bonnie and my son Anthony and my daughter-in-law Paige, who came here this evening. My oldest son Alex is with his family at Disney World, and I'm kind of jealous about that, but here I am, so thank you. Thanks.
Hey, Gary. Oh, there's Yep.
Oh,
Hey, Tim, before you sit down, you know I got to say something. I teased you about this, but this is exactly true. You were a part-time employee for us.
right.
But the hours you put in and the dedication that you did, we had to hire someone full-time to do the job you're doing. Yeah, and that's a test to show how hard you work for the town. And, I mean, this is just a small token of how much we appreciate the work you've done and how you made you're the one that puts our meetings together. So, and those are always flawless and riveting, as everyone knows. So,
Thank you.
I just want to thank you for your years of service to the town, and the retirement's well-deserved.
I
Thank you very
appreciate
much.
that, thank you.
Tim, I mean, you always came across as a very caring individual, and you really took the citizens of the town of Speedway, and taking their information, what they need, and basically made sure that they got it. I think one characteristic of Tim has been that, he followed through on everything, that once you gave him a project, you didn't have to worry about it getting done or getting pushed aside, and I very much appreciated that type of dedication, even though we tried your patience many times in the past, but thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Tim's that rare individual that you really can't say anything negative about.
Oh, you haven't seen some sides of me, but thank you.
Bonnie can step up.
I've seen a couple of, I remember an occasion at the junior high where another inspector was really pushing you,
Yeah,
and you just stayed cool and calm and in control.
thank you.
So kudos.
Congratulations, and enjoy your time spent
Thank
with
you.
your family now. I know you've worked super hard for this, and you definitely will be missed here.
Thank you,
But
Eileen.
I know we'll see you out.
We will.
Yeah, hurry back. We might have a part-time job for you. Just saying.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Tim.
Next on the agenda is the approval of a town manager management agreement. Grant, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
It's been a journey, just getting to know you and getting all the information and as going through the process, until a person comes in and really starts putting the work behind what was written down about you. And so I'm looking forward to the relationship that you'll have with the town of Speedway. And you don't necessarily have to put another 40 years in, but I think you can make an impact on this town with the knowledge. I don't know if you would like to speak to the public.
President, I just make a point of order. We haven't actually hired him yet.
No, okay, well, that's true.
We might need to do a motion.
That's right. That's true.
I'd like to make a motion that we hire Grant. We accept the town manager employment agreement as written.
Okay, I got a motion on the table. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Okay, is there any other discussion? I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of the employment agreement with Grant KLEINHENZ as town manager of the town of Speedway, signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed?
Aye.
So we got 3 for and 2 against. So we're moving forward with that.
Mr. President, I'd like to explain my vote.
Sure.
Grant, it was not a vote against you. I believe you are more than capable and will lead us forward. However, some of the benefits in this agreement are not what I agreed to. I like to think I'm a fiscal conservative for the town. Again, nothing against you. I look forward to working with you, sitting down, having conversations, moving this town forward to where it needs to go. This is no reflection of you. It's just what is in this agreement is not what I agreed to, and I therefore felt I can't approve the agreement. So that's why I voted no.
And I would say the very same thing. I think that, just to add, I felt in other times when we've hired somebody of this importance that council have sat down and talked in person with each other and not through email. So that's the only thing I would add to that. So, but definitely look forward to working with you as an individual.
Great.
Okay, so motion carries 3-2.
Yes, it does.
One time, so we'll go over there. You want to maybe take this opportunity to speak to the citizens of the town of Speedway?
Sure,
I
yeah.
appreciate.
Well, first off, council, I want to say thank you. It was a great opportunity to get to know you through the interview process. I can tell there's a lot of good things going on. I can tell each of you are very passionate about the community, and I think that excited me, frankly. I've been in other interviews where that wasn't necessarily the case, so I wanted to thank you for that and the chance that I had to sit down and speak with you. I also look forward to meeting with staff, and today was filled with walking around and talking to a lot of different people. I didn't get a chance to speak with everyone, but I do know that that's one of the things I look forward to, getting to know the different staff members, department heads, and understanding the team that we've assembled here. I will say this about public service and being a town manager. This is my 23rd year. It's a great opportunity to serve. I think that's what I'm all about, trying to help our staff do what they need to do to help the community. I think that's something that I've always loved about my job and always look forward to. So I look forward to the chance to get to know residents and get to know what's going on. I've met with Tim a lot today. Definitely a great young man. I'll say young because I think he's younger than I am. So look forward to that partnership. And Jacob, we met a couple times today. I probably had more questions than you maybe expected, but that's okay. We'll work through those, and I just look forward to the opportunity to learn about Speedway. I love the West Side. West Side's the best side. Having been in Brownsburg for 7.5 years, I definitely feel a kinship with the West Side and look forward to being here for many years. Maybe in 17, 18, 19 years, we'll be doing something like this. That'd be great. That'd be my dream. So, and it's also very cool to see 2 proclamations like this for longtime employees. I think that's a great portent to what Speedway can be. So thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions of Grant? Good luck, and appreciate it. I look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you.
Let's move on. Next is Ordinance 1345, Ordinance amending Ordinance 1336, Establishment of Jobs and Salaries. Jacob, can
Yeah, this makes 2 adjustments to Appendix A, which outlines the annual salaries for employees. There's 2 adjustments. One is for the town manager position, increasing the salary outlined in that, and then there's also an adjustment for the redevelopment director, providing an increase for that. No other changes are made to the existing salary ordinance.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we accept ordinance number 1345 as explained by our clerk treasurer.
Okay. Got a motion and a second. Is there other discussion?
Not a discussion, but I think it's important to note what the increase is. The pay for the town manager will be $132,500, and the increase for the executive director is up $10,910. The executive assistant, the part-time position that's in there, Jacob, that was already in there, correct? That's not an addition. It was in there. Okay. I didn't approve the agreement. I'm not going to approve this as well, just not to explain my vote after the vote. But again, this is not what I agreed to. So I will be voting no on this.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those that are voting no signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries 3-2. Okay, next on the agenda is Ordinance 1344, an ordinance permitting the virtual attendance at the meeting. Bob, you want to give us the update on that?
Absolutely. As you are probably all aware, the governor recently renewed the state of emergency for the state, which one small portion of that is that it provided for virtual attendance at various meetings, council meetings, BZA meetings, all those types of local government meetings. When that expires, a statute was recently enacted that allows you to continue to have virtual meetings, or at least allow members to attend virtually under certain conditions, only if you adopt an ordinance first. The governor's order, I believe, expires at the end of July. Is that right? I think it's the end of July. July 31st, although I'm not positive on that. But in discussions, we thought it would be best to go ahead and have this ordinance in the event you would like to have a member or members attend virtually. So again, this is Ordinance 1344, and the requirements of the virtual attendance are, number one, that at least a quorum of the members of the board or commission participate in the meeting in person. Number two, the public is able to simultaneously attend and observe the meeting by electronic communication virtually, unless it is held in executive session. Number three, the members participating virtually in the meeting must be participating by both video and audio conferencing, so not just a phone call. Number four, a memorandum or minutes of the meeting must be prepared, stating which members appeared in person and which members appeared virtually, and which members were absent, and what the means of electronic communication were that were utilized. The memorandum or minutes must also include which members of the public attended and observed the meeting virtually. And then number five, all votes taken during a meeting in which a member or members appeared virtually must be taken by roll call, and such votes reflected in the minutes. So if you satisfy those five criteria, which are set forth in the statute that was recently enacted, then a member or members can attend virtually. Now that applies to your council meetings as well as any other board or commission meetings, so that would apply to the Board of Zoning Appeals, Parks Board, things of that nature.
Great.
So again, that is ordinance number 1344. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you may have them.
I'll make a motion that we approve it, ordinance 1344, so we can have some discussion on it.
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Now, is there any other discussion concerning 1344?
Mr. Clutter, you mentioned requirements for the public to do it virtually.
Must be allowed to.
Must be allowed to.
Yeah, so your typical Zoom, Blue Jeans platforms will allow that, and then they have the ability to sign in or say what, you'll see what their names are as long as that is reflected in the minutes. They do not have to necessarily be allowed to speak, which they often are not.
Okay.
A public meeting requirement is only that they get to observe and watch, listen, but not necessarily participate. But they must be allowed to participate in the Zoom call or Blue Jeans call.
With us broadcasting on YouTube, does that meet that criteria where we would not have to give them the Zoom access?
It does not.
Does not? Okay.
No, so if one of your members, you had a meeting where one wanted to attend virtually.
Well, I'm meaning someone from the public, I'm sorry.
Oh, someone from the public, no.
Yes.
That would not qualify.
Still does not qualify.
No, because you have to be able to recognize what members of the public
Attended the meeting.
attended the meeting virtually, yeah.
Okay.
So just a couple questions to clarify. So the governor's order that allowed for virtual meetings is that ended July 30th, or excuse me, June 30th? Or?
It was renewed, I think, for another month.
Okay,
I
so
know
the
it
end
was. I know it was renewed. I can't remember how long it was for. Do you remember, Tim, or anybody else? I think it was just for another month.
Maybe the end of this month.
I think so.
Okay. So, but all future meetings, even when someone has the opportunity to participate virtually, there still needs to be a quorum in public.
Yes,
So
correct.
it's not going back to
So in your
virtual meetings as a whole,
That's correct. In your case, at least three of you would have to attend in person.
or two of the three if only three counselors could show,
True.
or
Yeah, correct.
three if like a Parks Board or that type of thing.
Correct. Yeah, a quorum of whichever body it is.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Hearing none, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor of Ordinance 1344, permitting virtual attendance at meetings, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next on the agenda is the approval of a bid for the 2021 paving. Jacob?
So this is approval of a notice of award to DC Construction. They were our low and responsive bidder to do the 2021 summer paving program. Streets being repaved under this are Vinewood from Schoolwood to Hickorywood, Meadowwood from Vinewood to Fruitdale. And then there's some components of the project that the Transportation Committee has requested, and it was just more efficient and cost-effective to do this under one bid. And so again, we found DC Construction to be responsive, and they were the low bid, so we're recommending them for approval. Funding for this is, it's split up in a couple different ways. So $235,250.33 is coming from our MVH funds, which are primarily funded from gas taxes. Another $235,250.33 is coming from the state Met. I don't know why they don't just do it in dollars, but they gave me sense. So that's actually coming from state matching funds. Under the Community Crossings grant program, and I never miss an opportunity to describe this because we always get it every year, and I just don't want it to seem like it's just automatic.
Yeah.
It is a very competitive process. Rob has done a great job making sure that we do what we're supposed to do, that we have strong applications. Before him, Wendell got the ball rolling and has made sure that we're always competitive for that. But it is far from an automatic thing. I always caution when we're budgeting that we can't count on these funds being there as we're trying to scope out projects. Council will attest to that. I'm always watching that because it is very competitive. We just, again, kudos to Rob for all the work he does. So that's, $235,000 additional that we're going to have for roads and sidewalks and Speedway. And then the Transportation Committee portion of this is $173,444.86. Sorry, that's $173,440.86. I'm going to put a new requirement, Tim, that they have to just round it to the dollar. Actually, I don't think I can do that, can I, Bob?
Sure. Sure you can.
So anyway, that's what we're doing under this. Again, this is approving the notice of award to DC Construction. With your approval, we'll provide them with the notice tomorrow and get some repaving done.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the bid from DC Construction Services as described to the penny by our clerk treasurer.
Okay, you got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second that.
Got a motion and a second. No other discussion. We'll call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion as stated signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Jacob.
And thank you to Rob for his work on that.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
He does a fantastic job of that.
Next is a request for lane restrictions on Gilman Street. Tim?
Yeah, so we've been asked by Indy Racing Experience. They're hosting events. There's more and more events happening at IMS, and this one happens to be with Indy Racing Experience. And there's Porsches that are coming into town, and Tuesday through Friday they've asked to do a limited lane restriction on Gilman on the north side adjacent to the Dallara IndyCar factory. We have asked them that they keep it to the north side because there is construction at OMR on their expansion, as well as make sure that we're not blocking Able Motorsports new building as well. So this will be every day, Tuesday to Friday, for about 2 hours. I think they'd asked for 10 to 2, but what basically is happening is they're lining up about 50 Porsches per day. Was that the plural of Porsche? And starting a caravan down down to French Lick, Indiana. I'm looking at Gary because he's helped me with this one a little bit as well. So they're kind of lining up on parade each day and then heading off for a journey through the hills of southern Indiana to French Lick. So I have asked them to contact Jason Deerdorf and the Speedway Police Department. I got some texts earlier tonight that has been coordinated. So pending some traffic coordination to make sure that construction traffic is getting out safely and everybody's okay, I would recommend approving the lane restrictions this week.
Okay, we have a,
Mr. President, I'll make a motion that we request, that we approve the request for lane restrictions as presented by Tim Gropp. And to be clear, I don't drive a Porsche, nor will I be driving a Porsche, so.
okay. So I got a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I've got a second. So now, is there any further discussion concerning?
One question. When is it, you said this is this week?
This is this week,
Okay.
tomorrow through Friday.
I fielded the call on Friday, which is why Tim's referencing this.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thanks, Tim. Jacob, approval of claims and utility adjustments?
Claims presented represent those made June 12th through July 9th, and I will take any questions or would appreciate your approval.
Okay, concerning the claims have been submitted to the council. Is there any questions concerning claims for Jacob?
I'll make a motion, we approve the claims as presented with one comment. Back when the council approved, which I did not vote for, the agreement with the Beck Communications Group, I mentioned that I would let the public know when she was paid. The approval on this is for her to be paid $2,925 on these claims, which I believe she's close to $700 from past claims, so this brings that up to $3,600 that she's been paid, which I believe should be going away because we've hired a communications director.
Correct.
Okay.
Is there any other questions or concerns?
The consulting firm that we used, are they included in this? Did you receive a bill for that?
Not some.
Okay.
Okay, there's no other questions or concerns on the claims.
It needs to be seconded.
I'll need a second.
I'll second.
There's no other discussion. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of the claims as submitted by Town Clerk Treasurer per David Lindsay's objection on one of them signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next is utility adjustments.
Utility adjustments are the same period, June 12th through July 9th. A couple leak adjustments and a sewer billing error from data that we got from citizens. So we made a correction for that. And I'll take any questions or, again, would appreciate your approval.
Mr. President, I make a motion, we approve the utility adjustments as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. So further discussion concerning utility adjustments, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor of the utility adjustments as submitted by the Town Clerk Treasurer signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 5-0. Next is a report from our department supervisors. First up is Economic Development, Tim Gropp.
Good evening, Council. Several updates. We were able to celebrate the grand opening of Aldi. It's gone really well. The public has seemed to be really happy with that addition. The store is very nice, and we're excited they're a new part of Founders Square, and we'll look forward to the next ribbon cutting out there, which should be crew car wash, hopefully later this fall. I did want to give an update. We've gotten a lot of questions about the timing of 25th and High School. We did get 25th and High School, okay. We did get Indianapolis to come out and take a look at it, and there was a timing issue where it was slowing down, but we also found some other issues that the contractor hadn't quite gotten to, including the sinking between Crawfordsville and High School and 25th and High School. So we have had our contractor go back out and fix those errors, as well as with the opening of Aldi's. We wanted to make sure that all four sides of the light were functional. That seems to be the case, and we should be seeing some adjusted timing at that light. There's still some striping to be done, including stop bars, which will help position the cars on the sensors, as well as pedestrian crosswalks. That work is weather pending these days. That work is supposed to be done hopefully this week. It could be into next week if we don't have the right conditions. So I just wanted to give an update on that. We've had a lot of those questions. And again, if we're not always out there sitting at those lights, so if you do run across that, please let us know so we can take corrective action on it. We also had another ribbon cutting this last weekend. Stronger with Sarah. We want to welcome them in particular. Sarah Gardner is SRC member, Barry Gardner's wife. So a little shout out to Barry. He teased me that I didn't do that in my email, but we're happy to have her at the corner of 16th and Lyndhurst. And then tomorrow at 10 a.m. we have another ribbon cutting for Founders Grounds on Main Street. The first of what will be 2 coffee shops down on Main Street. So we're excited to have them open tomorrow. A little follow-up on the Transportation Committee. They did meet earlier this night and gave their blessing to the alternates for the bids. And that worked out really well. We're able to have cost savings for the citizens by packaging that together. And they will be replacing a sidewalk from High School on 25th on the north side to the post office. And they'll be adding a new sidewalk from 22nd Street down Wolco to essentially the BMV. So that currently is a dangerous spot where there isn't a sidewalk. So that also, part of their mission is they have to incorporate bus stops. So those 2 projects will upgrade 3 ADA accessible bus stops as well. So we appreciate their supports. 1300 block, we actually have a pre-con on 1300 block this week. We're getting really close to the start of construction on that project. That being said, there's still some paperwork, and we're working out the timing of closing on the property, the loans, and finishing up the ancillary documents. So we're trying to coordinate all of those things into like a 2-week period and have them all fall into place. But we feel really good about everything. We're reviewing the building plans currently, and we hopefully here in the next couple weeks, if not the first week of August, you will see construction. If you haven't noticed, they've secured the site a little better and they've dropped off some steel. So everybody's really anxious to get that project going and off the ground, and we're really close to doing so and excited to see that construction. And then on the flip side, we still have Wilshaw out there. We have reaffirmed our position of the breach this week and sent them continuing breach documentation through our attorney. And we have several important calls this week, and we should have an update for the public at the Speedway Redevelopment Commission meeting next Monday at 6 p.m. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Tim?
Appreciate your hard work, Tim.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Next up, Chief Tim Campbell.
Good evening. You know, we've talked about NASCAR. August 15th is the race, and it's going to be a little different. It's going to include some IRL cars on the same weekend, and this one's actually got a totally different name of Verizon 200 at the Brickyard. So that's not been our typical, 400 that we've had in the past. You know, we again, as I've told you, our public safety agencies, local, state, federal, we meet, on the 27th. And, the only thing different again would be, this will be the first time that we've had our public meeting. At 1 o'clock on that date, the public is open to come to Brickyard Inn, and, that's where we make a public presentation if, those that are interested, and we usually have a pretty good turnout, but, it's been almost a year and a half since we've been able to meet with, Speedway citizens that have questions, so it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. Secondly, I have today, you hear a lot on the news about how tough it is to be a policeman today, how hard it is to, try to get people to join. I mean, I can show you where agencies are promising 60 to 80,000, 10,000 signing bonus, and they'll move you. That one happens to be Alaska, in case anybody's interested in going there. But just to give you some idea, Sarah Edie did our applicant process this last weekend. We had 15 candidates. I mean, in the past, we would have had hundreds of candidates. So it gives you a pretty good idea of how tough it is to try to recruit, and we're not the only agency. There's an agency north of us that had 6 candidates, and it's probably 2 or 3 times the size of ours. So that's going to continue to be an issue for public safety. Eventually, that pendulum should swing back, we hope. And with that, I continue to bring up, but KLEIA is the standard that is the gold standard for this country as it relates to law enforcement. We are one of 11% of public safety police agencies that are KLEIA accredited. And, to me, what that means is we meet the professional standards. I've even heard it mentioned in places, when you look at all the reforms that people want to make and, all the investigations of their departments, we are KLEIA accredited, which means we are looked at, in one of the most intense ways, that's possible from a public safety agency. So I think the town of Speedway can take pride in the fact that somebody wants to come look at us, they're more than welcome to do that. Like I said, I think we have the gold standard, for policing in this country. So that's what I have.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Chief Fishburne.
Good evening. Got a couple things for you. One, Allison Transmission. We are working with them on their pump and water leak issue. It affects plants 12, 14, and 15. It's not critical, but we're working with them on a fire pump issue that they have that came up in inspection. So we've also, this week, initiated school inspections. We've let Brian Kiefer know about our new e-lock system, which is the Knox system that I talked about a few months ago. And that is continuing and ongoing. The property at 1200 Main Street, what you know as the Speedway Transportation Museum, those inspection reports, we still get complaints about some of the building issues, but those inspection reports have been sent to the State Fire Marshal's office and then been handed over to the Attorney General. That's going to be a process that the state kind of runs. I know Vince and I have talked a lot about that issue, and the public, I think, has a lot of concern. John and Joe Kramer here, or John Merritt and Joe Kramer hear a lot about that property, and it's something that the state, the Attorney General, and that backlog from COVID has affected how we can, go after that property to make it safe, not just for the citizens, but for police and fire that respond to that, location and all of those sorts of things. So, we are on top of that. I wanted to make you aware that we have had 2 of our firefighters who were deployed to the Surfside pile through the task force. And they've been away from their families for over 2 weeks now. And I just want to make the public, I want to let the public know that Speedway contributes firefighters to Task Force 1. It does not cost the town anything. Jacob's worked with us before on reimbursement. FEMA covers their expenses. They cover our backfilling for our overtime. All of that is covered. I just want to let the citizens know to, keep those guys in your thoughts and prayers. It's easy to wonder what those guys are doing, but when they come back, they've seen things and worked on things that none of us would really want to do. And their families have a lot of resources as they come back. Task Force has already held a couple of meetings at their headquarters for families for support. But Battalion Chief Mike Cheney and Private Chris Jenkins have both been down there. They're talking through the reports that I get. I get 2 reports daily from the task force commander, and they're kind of talking, but nothing's written in stone about demobilizing some of the task force from Texas and from Indiana. Indiana is very, very fortunate to have a task force. Not every state has one. There's a lot of requirements to become deployable, and we're pretty fortunate to have 3 of our 35 guys that are a part of that effort. So just want to keep those guys in our thoughts. Talked with Tim today. Woolpert is kind of finalizing. I know some of you have a little bit of that, kind of finalizing things on the fire station feasibility study. Doesn't mean we're going to build something in the next month. Just so the public knows, those plans are being finalized and those will be presented. Something that I want to say, I know Jim Campbell and I give each other a hard time, but when it comes to some of the things that the police deal with on a daily basis, I personally experienced it today. My wife and I were coming back from vacation celebrating my mother-in-law's 89th birthday, and we were on 16th Street, literally the second car when they stopped traffic for an active event that happened on 16th Street today. You're going to see it on the news, and but people don't realize what police officers, not just Speedway, IMPD was there. I don't know if some of the county people responded or not, but guys out of their cars seeking shelter, trying to help an individual who obviously was struggling. And I just commend everything that I saw. Literally was there as our guys were pulling up. They were thinking about public safety. They were thinking about the individual's safety above their own, and that to me is to be commended. Speedway's got some of the finest, and I hate the fact that they had 15 people apply, because they used to have 100, and it's not a job that I would want to do. People think we're crazy for running into buildings on fire and going into accidents, but police officers deserve our support, and so many times they only see the negative and they don't see what I saw today. So I just really want to commend your officers for that, Chief. Also want to welcome Cheryl, and I want to welcome Grant. Welcome aboard, and look forward to working with you. And then there is Mark Morgan, who used to give me a hard time on the streets. Might have even called me out at 3 o'clock in the morning when I didn't really need to be out there, but he and Joe Kramer were really good at stuff like that. 40 years, we were lucky to have him. And Mark, thumbs up. On a lighter note, Tim Ramion. It's funny that they made your proclamation on a Friday. That means after we're all off work, we can enjoy a martini and think of you, because I've seen Tim out a few times, and he's had to teach me a few things about that drink. So I appreciate you, your sense of humor, your dedication to the town, and you will be missed, but I'm sure we'll see you around. So that's all I have, if you don't have any questions.
No, great comments, Chief.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Cheryl, Would you step up for Tammy Smith? And welcome again to the town.
you.
And
Thank you.
as far as your new position as Communications Director.
Yep, yes.
And I look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Vince. Thank you, council. Yeah, this was my first week. It went really well. Met lots of good people. So much to learn, but everyone was so friendly and welcoming, whether it was in one of the restaurants downtown or within our office itself. So I'm excited to have this role and to be a part of Speedway. It didn't take long for me to realize there's something special about your town, but I can call it my town also now. As soon as I was accepted the position, I moved to town. So yeah, I think it's really important that I become a part of the community. I want to know the community, get to know the people, the businesses, and all that. So thank you for the opportunity. I'm excited. So yes, Tammy, I'm up here because Tammy's not here with the parks report. Couple of things. The upcoming concerts in the parks, those are held at Meadowood Park from 7 to 9 p.m. I have a rundown of what's still coming. July 22nd will feature Our Shepherd, the band. July 29th will be The Last Alpaca. August 5th is Serenade Jazz Orchestra. August 12th will be musicians from Philharmonica of Indianapolis. August 19th is The Party. And last week's band was canceled because of the weather. They were Attaboy, and Tammy is trying to reschedule that, so stay tuned for that update. Just to note, concerts are 100% funded by sponsors, and we would like to thank those sponsors who have contributed to the event. Alliance Insurance Company and Donegal Insurance Group. I apologize if I pronounce some of these names wrong. Again, I'm new to the town. Wessler Engineering, McGowan Insurance, Pop Chef and Den Law Offices, the Miller Family, Fundy's Ice Cream and Sweets, and Speedway Fire Local 416. The other event to report on is Market on Main. That is held on Thursdays from 4 to 7 p.m. It is located, for those who don't know, 1060 Main Street, behind the War Memorial and next to Charlie Brown's Restaurants. I do know that some of the produce has been a little bit behind because of the weather, but I know Tammy is still working constantly with the vendors, and it seems like each week she has a good contact that it's going to continue to grow and be a good event in the end. So that's all I have. Any questions?
Hearing none? Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tammy.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Next, Luke Adams. How's it going today, Luke?
Good evening. How are you guys? The waterworks, surface water plant is currently online. However, this week we'll be shutting down to do some minor routine maintenance to our intakes and our basins. The wells, they're continuing to get cleaned by Bass and Logan. We anticipate those will be completed by the end of this week. Distribution has repaired and rebuilt 3 hydrants and made 3 service taps last month. The past week, they've also been assisting Allison's transmission with the firing line that had busted during their fire flow test. It's been ongoing and still progressing. We got a coordinated shutdown that affects about 2 or 3 of the production lines. The contractor jumped the gun and went ahead and had us pass out notices and schedule this shutdown, and come to find out they weren't aware of what was going to take it out. So to include our sanitation plant. So that's been put on hold. Today, we met with them to kind of regroup and get a schedule. We're hoping by the end of the week we can get something resolved out there. Our distribution crew also continues to monitor all Speedway infrastructure daily. They get roughly 50 to 100 locate tickets a week. They locate our water, sanitary, and our storm. So that's been keeping them pretty busy. In the street department, they've been repairing street signs due to some significant traffic accidents. They also have been doing storm cleanup and mowing the responsible areas throughout town. Sanitation, in June, they recorded 6.09 inches of rain and treated and returned 127 million gallons of water back to the environment. The plant is running flawlessly with no issues. And that's all I got.
Fantastic. Any questions for Luke?
Thank you.
Good.
Thanks, Luke.
Thank you. So I'll have next on agenda is the report from Town Council, Councilor Gary Pettigo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to first, once again, welcome Grant to the Town of Speedway. And I'm positive there's going to be fantastic things coming for you and our town, all of us. Cheryl, once again, welcome. Tim, Ramion, you're going to be missed, so don't stay too far away. You know, be a vision once in a while. Come in and say hi. Beyond that, I just want to say there's still a major need in central Indiana for blood donors, whether it's whole blood, platelets, or red cells. If you have the time, please make it available to either the Indiana Blood Center, which is now Versity, or to the American Red Cross. That's it.
Okay. Councilor Eileen Fisher.
I too would like to just welcome Cheryl to the team and also Grant. So I know you guys will bring a lot for the remaining team here that you have to work with. So congratulations. That's all I have.
Councilor David Lindsay.
Concur. Welcome, Cheryl. Welcome, Grant. That's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Vice President.
Again, I won't be redundant, but say thanks as well, and welcome to the team. Look forward to working with both of you. I appreciate, didn't really take enough time when you presented, Chief Fishburne, in particular your thoughts on the police department. I know that was a challenging event this afternoon, and you have your own challenging events within the fire department, and you know, for many of our public, they think it's a normal thing, and you just step up and it's no big deal. But to those of us that work with you every day and work beside your teams, to know how committed they are, but also the challenges they face, both physical and emotional at times, it's really impressive, and we certainly appreciate your efforts and your team's efforts. So thank you. That's it.
Okay. I just have a few comments. I'd like to reinforce what Chief Campbell said in terms of the public's awareness of what's happening out in the town. The public has a lot more eyes than our police department, and we are constantly challenged by the destruction of public property due to traffic accidents. If you see an accident, please call it in and make sure that our police department is aware. A lot of these accidents damage our public property, and they drive on. And unless we catch them or they totally disable their car, these basically go uncollected and goes against the taxpayers of the town of Speedway. A typical example of that is the roundabout. These guys are taking that at a high rate of speed, and they're taking out signs left and right, and not enough to disable their vehicle, but it does cause property damage going through a fence. And we had a major accident over the weekend on Main Street in which a person fell asleep in the vehicle and took out several of our planters, bike racks, and signs. These costs add up, and people have to understand that this is when that happens in front of them, they are damaging the town of Speedway, and they have to be accountable. So help the police out, and watch out for your neighbor. You know, crime, you know, I don't know what it is. Since COVID's going away, everybody again thinks that they're set free, and they're just out there creating havoc. But we need to let our police and help our police out and be in the eyes and ears out in the public so that we can keep Speedway a safe place when it comes to from a community standpoint. So that's all I have to say, and I thank you very much. And there's nothing else to say tonight. It is 8:15. I want to adjourn the meeting.